What's up, Colorado State Rams fans? Rich Kurtzman here from Moby Arena, and another victorious Saturday afternoon for your Colorado State Rams. They improved to 11-6 today after beating the Air Force Falcons, and it was a blowout, 85-58. It was the 11th straight win for Colorado State over Air Force, and it was Colorado State's 11th win of the season. It was also Larry Eustachy's 500th win of his historic 26-year coaching career. He became the 61st coach to reach that 500 career win milestone. And a lot of quotes from Larry later in this video recap, but first to the game. Despite only having 7 players, Colorado State, well, they cruised to a victory, especially in that second half where they dominated Air Force. The Rams, though, going back to the beginning of the game, they started out with an 8-0 lead early, and they were playing with extra effort. You know, I talked to Greg Smith, who used to play for the team before the game, which will be on a podcast later, and Greg said that they're going to play hard every single night, even though that there are only 7 players, and that's the way that they have to play to win games with Larry Eustachy. Defense first, rebounding second, offense third. Well, offense, it was first and foremost amazing tonight, but their defense and their rebounding set the tone for the victory. The Falcons battled back. They tied the game early at 13-13, and then they continued to pour it on Colorado State, an 11-0 run to take the 15-13 lead. That's when Gian Clavel finally started heating up, and so did Prentice Nixon, the sophomore point guard, was mugged in the lane, and there wasn't a foul called, so he turned the ball over. It was a physical game for both of these two teams who don't have any love lost for each other. The two rivals really played physically against each other. There were a lot of fouls called, but then Nixon drained a jumper, and then he hit a 3. That non-call really fired him up, and you could see that in the way that he continued to play. In the second half, Colorado State ended the first half on a 7-0 run, and they went into the halftime with a 33-28 lead. And Larry Eustachy, after the game, said that he was telling his team during the halftime that they were playing too tentatively, and we really saw them play with more tenacity in the second half as they, like I said, dominated. They scored 52 points in the second half alone. That's sensational. The second half, it was the Gian Clavel show, really, and this was the breakout game for Clavel this season, who missed the first 9 games due to suspension. Clavel took over. He scored 7 straight, and his team went on a 10-0 run, and in reality, the second half was all Rams, no Falcons. Clavel went off, scoring a game-high 28 points, going 5 from 10 from downtown, and he also got a standing ovation when he left the game, which was much deserved. CSU went wild from downtown, making 49%, 14 of 29 from outside the arc, and it was one of their best performances from downtown all year, bar none. Air Force turned the ball over 17 total times, and Colorado State scored 26 points off those turnovers. That was a big difference in the game. And the Falcons, they were incredibly sloppy this Saturday afternoon, and they were blown out as the Rams won, once again, 85-58. Now, Larry Eustachy, after the game, you know, he said that this was, he first said that his biggest key is that his relationship with the coaches and the players together, and that, you know, from an outsider's perspective, you wouldn't expect that, but Larry and his players, he said he couldn't win all these games through all these years if they didn't care, if they didn't know that he cared for them, which he said that this game clearly proved that that they do care for him. He said, I think this team really wanted to win this game for me, and I was told that before the game. He said, I've never missed a practice, I've never missed a game. At the end of the day, it's all about finding peace, and that's all I know. Larry Eustachy talked a lot about Emmanuel Mogbo, how that's the reason he gave him the team ball was because they were so close to one another. And Mogbo called Larry Eustachy a second father, and Larry Eustachy said with one phone call, Emmanuel Mogbo lost his innocence last year. That was some incredibly touching stuff. Larry Eustachy goes on to win his 500th game in his career. Colorado State, hey, things are starting to look up again for the Rams as they're now 11-6 after beating the Air Force Falcons, a terrible Air Force Falcons team. Now, can Colorado State continue to win with only 7 players? We'll have to see. Eustachy joked that he's going to have to call on some of the media members to